Hi, this is Janetta Bilheimer. I am today interviewing Nichole Isom, and she is going to be talking about homeschooling the neurodiverse child. And Nichole has a degree in marriage and family life. She is a Right now she's getting another degree in special education, and she's been an online teacher for 4 years. She has 4 children and she homeschools two of them. And she's been homeschooling actually for 9 years. And and two of her children are not neurodiverse. And I will just let Nichole tell you more about that and about some of the resources that she's discovered along the way. I know that I've had a lot of interest in a video like this. So I'm so excited to have Nichole here. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and for joining us. Will you tell a little bit more about yourself?
Yes, thank you for the invite to speak. I'm by no means an expert on children with disabilities. I think this is something that as mothers, we learn by working with our own children, the best things that we can do for them. And I think every mother becomes an own expert on their own child. So what I have to say may not be what you see every day with your child, but I hope that I will hit some points that can help you in this adventure of teaching your children at home. So the topic for today is neurodiversity. That's a term that not everyone is familiar with. However, I'm probably preaching to a choir of mamas that do know this term. Neurodiverse are the children that have a different way that their brain functions. They can be wired a little differently. They think a little differently. They may act or even understand the world around them in a different way. I really like this term. It's a polite way of referring to these kiddos because a lot of them are very high functioning in this world. And it is offensive to be referred to as someone that is disabled when they can do so much like everyone else. So a more polite way to refer to these children is neurodiverse. I have two children. As I was introduced, you were heard, I have two children that are both on the autistic spectrum. One of them has ADD, sensory processing disorder, and we also deal a lot with mental processing, and that's me. As a mom, I've had to learn how to try and help my kids to learn better. I could see that that's hard for teachers in this classroom, as wonderful as they may be. When you have a classroom filled with children, it's hard to meet each of their individual needs. So I've had to take on researching and studying this. And what I have learned that has helped me the most is understanding the big picture. When we see children that have a disability, what we as parents or teachers are seeing is the top of what we would call a funnel. So the top, we're seeing maybe kids that are hyper or that are just inattentive, or they're not able to communicate back to us clearly what they're thinking. These are the executive functions that maybe we're not seeing as parents what we are wanting to see. So a great thing I learned, it comes from aspergerexperts.com. Don't let that turn you off. If you have a kid that's neurodiverse, it falls with all kids. This is called the funnel of executive functioning. So up here is what we're seeing as parents. But with kids, maybe what's causing these things that we're seeing, they start down here at the bottom. And this is what's really important for us parents to try to understand is at the bottom, we have sensory. So the sensory issues that maybe these kids are experiencing can just set off what turns into a whirlwind that we're seeing. That would include 5 senses. So anything from a smell to sounds, the way that they're feeling inside. This can trigger overwhelm, anxiety, depression, anger, defense, attacks. The kids are not able to process and move on from that point when their sensory is struggling and overwhelmed. So what I've had to do to learn how to help with this, there's a lot of things, a lot of steps, but my most important tip that I would give is understand what your child's coping mechanisms are. When you can see that there's something sensory wise that's maybe triggering them, how does your child cope with this? If it's reacting, if you're getting a reaction that you don't want, it helps as mom to be familiar with what that is and finds their coping. So for my children, I try to create a safe space of calm. This helps so much in creating an atmosphere to be able to teach in. So we've gone from a closet that we turned into an area for reptiles and amphibians that my child could go sit next to and play. We've turned we had bay windows, and so we turned some of the bay windows into an art studio for one child that liked to focus her attention on art. Just a calming, safe place. So coping mechanisms, they help to bring calm. Also, in the same area, when a child can see something consistent, like routines, my child that's sensory processing disorder, he knows a time that we're going to be cooking dinner, and he's very sensitive to smells. So he just won't come in the room at that time. So I've had to learn that at that time of day to give him something productive to do so that it's not an automatic turn off and puts him into overwhelm or defense mode, is something that's calming, or a task. Often that's go get the mail time, or that's call grandma and grandma reads a book time. Something that fills in that time so that he doesn't have to feel that he has to be in that state of alarms going off. Oh no, what's mom making? And it just brings calm so we can talk about it first, and I can reassure him, hey, tonight for dinner, I've made something that you like, before he smells what the rest of the family is having.
I imagine that's so helpful. And all those things would be so helpful.
Yeah.
But teachers can't really do all of that necessarily when they've got 30 kids. And so how amazing is that that your children have they're noticing what their needs are and helping to provide those so that they can go ahead and and then live their lives and function and learn and grow.
That is the beauty of being able to teach your own kids, isn't it? I know when my kid is going to have a struggle, not always, but some of them is pretty routine. I know a specific time of day that's going to be a time when they need a break. And the teacher at school can't offer that, but we can. So the sensory part of this funnel, if we can see what is starting this spin for our children, and we're able to use these coping mechanisms or routines that help to calm the situation, it helps so much. And that's really the best thing that I've been able to figure out as mom, so that the rest of the day and everything fits into a way that I'm able to have a kid that can respond and can be aware and can focus and feels emotionally in control. It really helps to just put the right foot forward when we can understand what the issues that could trigger our child or upset them. So that is the advantage of being home. If a kid is struggling with the sensory issues, then their awareness can shut down. They're not going to focus on what you have to say. If someone is being loud in the house, this is where knowing what they're learning, best learning tactics are, whether they can be in a group or if they're individual is better. I have one kid that, bring him with other children. The whining doesn't happen. he becomes sort of competitive and he likes to try and beat what the other kids are doing. And it really drives him to learn better. So we teach him in a group, homeschool group. We meet 3 days a week and with other little kids that are his age, and the moms take turns teaching. And for him, it's perfect. It really helps him to have the drive to learn. However, my oldest daughter on the spectrum very much needs individual one-on-one. So when I get home from homeschool group, it's her turn, and I just go one-on-one with her through her books and things that we're learning from, and hands-on things, and it works out a lot better for her. So the awareness will happen when we can understand how the kids, their senses are being met, and that they're able to focus and be aware, and they will not become shut down or defensive. They can deal with a lot more in the world when they feel like they're in control of the things around them that are happening. So the next one on, go ahead.
I think that's something that we can really, just all, just that shutdown, and just not being able to function. I think that we can all kind of relate to that, with, any of us that, homeschool our children, or, otherwise, are mothering our parenting our children, and to know what our children's needs are is so important, because otherwise, what do you, they can be shut down for months or more if they think that if they know you don't really understand them. And so I think this is fantastic that you have found answers. So yeah, and you've become aware, like you were saying, that awareness.
It helps to understand your own child. And this is why every mother is her own expert at working with neurodiverse kids, because you learn your own child, how they work and what engages them.
Yeah.
I'll give a few other examples, just because this is such a big area of really getting your child's willingness and attention and focus with these kids, especially. So music is amazing. Music is so incredible. My oldest daughter, I pulled her out of public school when she was in 3rd grade, and I homeschooled her for the first year that year. And she wasn't reading. She wasn't really talking a lot. She had verbal skills, but she didn't communicate her thoughts very well. And I put her in private violin lessons. And that little girl, she just blossomed on that violin. She began reading music before she could read words. And she was just on that violin for hours every day. It was just something she loved. And we would listen to music together that had the violin in it. And it really made her feel excited. And now she's older and she's very amazing on the violin. It's something that was her own motivation and her own drive to learn.
And what a blessing to be so good at something when other things are difficult.
Yes. But I read an interesting book. It was called Disconnected Kids. It talks about how Einstein, how he struggled, as we know, through school. And the thing that helped him to gain focus was using the opposite side of his brain from academics and math, which were some of, we know later in life, his skills, was to use the opposite side of the brain and to play the violin is what also helped him. It helped him to create a focus and connect the two brains together, the sides of the brains, where he was able to have more of a focus, and that helped him to be able to have a drive that helped him to just see clearer and be able to get things accomplished better. So for me, I've learned with my own kids, music is really powerful. It helps my kids to focus. Not everyone's maybe the same, but I use music for specific times of the day, and it brings calm, it brings focus. They know the routine that when they hear that music come on. I also bought through miraclemusic.com. They created a program where you They have music. You just put it in, push play, most wonderful thing for mother. And a woman will come on during each song, which fits the task of wake up. And there's this beautiful music for the kids to wake up, say your prayers. Let's go to the bathroom. Let's get our jobs done. And she goes through each task has one song, and the kids have to complete that task by the end of the song. And my kids were ready like that. They would just follow that program, and that music was perfect. It just had them going on whether it was a quick hurry task or if it was one that was to ponder and be still and to think. It was calming. So, and then, of course, they were ready on time for whatever that was. There's also an evening routine one, which is wonderful. So it took the mom aspect of me having to be on my children of, okay, it's this time, get this done. The nagging just disappeared, and I loved it.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yay, that is just worth so much. I get so tired of that.
Yeah, that's a great resource. So music can be super influential with children in helping them. It puts a time limit on it when the song ends, and it also helps them to have a sense of energy that comes from that song.
So what is that resource called again?
It's called miraclemusic.com.
Okay. So write that down, miraclemusic.com.
So back to our funnel. Emotions. This is a big one for a lot of, I think, teenagers that are at home, especially trying to learn how to do homeschool for the first time. Emotionals are really big with children that maybe are not around friends now, or trying to learn how to cope on being alone and doing things when they're used to being in a group. So understanding the kids' emotions of what they're feeling and talking to them a lot and asking them a lot of questions. Sometimes I had to remind myself to be patient and not tell my kids what they were supposed to do, but rather to step back and think, why are they acting this way? What is it that maybe could be bothering them? And ask them questions that were kind and loving instead of being upset that they were not meeting my expectations. It brought a lot of calm to the situation to just ask questions, not in a like as if you were interrogating them, but in a way that was caring. And that helps to understand the kids. Next one, awareness. So they teach about this, that awareness brings a sense of control. When the kids have mastered these three, they feel more in control of their.
Can you pull it over to the right a little bit so that we can see it?
Sure.
The words are kind of cut off right there. No, that's just fine.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, sensory and then awareness. Okay.
So when the kids feel that they are in control of their senses, of their environment and their emotions, they're able to engage better. Social is on there. That's probably more for kids on the spectrum. It's interesting in the schools, you'll see that they want to teach social skills. And when you study autism, it's not really a matter of teaching the skills. It's more a matter of, it's called neuroneurons in the brain. It's kind of like monkey see, monkey do. This is how the typical child learns how to be social, how to interact, is by what they see from mom and dad, or others around them. And children that are on the spectrum specifically are, when you have an MRI done of the brain, you'll see that those neuroneurons are turned off. And it's usually because these kids are in a place of defense if they do not have control over the other parts of the funnel below them. that it's hard for them to think clearly like a normal person would. They're probably thinking, oh, what's that sound? Oh, what's that person tapping over there? I mean, their brain is trying to catch so many things. They're not in a state of being able to do the monkey see, monkey do. So it's not really a matter of teaching social techniques. It's a matter of, again, coming to the bottom of this funnel and addressing these issues so that they feel calm and in control, and they are able to take social steps where they feel that they can engage and focus more on cultural social behaviors. That's what I have learned. So what does that look like as a homeschool mom? Okay, my oldest daughter doesn't like to learn with other kids, but I do want her to be social with other kids. So social time is a time for always a positive experience. It's a time for fun for her. My other child, my youngest child, what he does learn best and in a socialized way. And so for him, it's okay for him to learn and be in an academic atmosphere where he's learning the social skills. They're very different atmospheres, very different ways to learn. So when I talk to my teenager about socializing, it's not so much about working in a team. For example, at first, when I started homeschooling, I put her in the Thomas Jefferson Education homeschool group, which I loved. It teaches leadership skills. It teaches as a group a love for country and a love for God. But it was in a group setting. And so for her to come home learning something from that, that was my first experience being able to see what it was like for her to be in a classroom and why it was hard to learn in a group with children. So I used my opportunity more to teach her with friends, not to teach social skills in an academic setting for her. It just wasn't the best way for her to learn. Yeah, there's different areas of where I think kids can blossom the best socially, and it's good to try to identify where that is and start there. So the top one, when the kids feel that they are in control of this funnel, their executive functioning skills are much better. They feel calmer. They're in control. They're not in defense. They're able to rationally think through things better. And you don't see the kids that are the behaviors that are the greatest concern that are acting out and that we are not getting the desired outcome from. I don't know if this is helpful to other moms, but to me, when I learned this from a counselor who has worked with neurodiverse children, that's not just Asperger kids, but kids in general that are learning different, it really helped me to understand the way my kids' brains were thinking. He also taught me some wonderful things. We can help our kids that are neurodiverse. Changing them isn't always a possibility, but there are many things we can do to help. Again, I love the book Disconnected Kids. It teaches brain exercises that you can do daily with your kids. My oldest daughter on the spectrum was always clumsy. She couldn't balance on a bike. It scared me to death. She would fall over all the time. She would stumble and fall downstairs. But when we started doing these brain exercises every day that are in the book, some of them were like eye techniques. Some of them were focusing on objects. It was a lot of using your senses. So covering one eye. When we started doing that, holy cow, she suddenly had the ability to balance and she wasn't tripping, and she gained a stronger core in her body. I don't know how else to define that. It was amazing. There are things we can do. There's nutrition, there's supplements, there's so many things that have helped my child to be able to have better focus and a better first step out on the day. Again, disconnected kids.
Can you
I love
tell
that book.
us? Can you tell us what some of those, what the kind of some of the supplements are that have helped your
Sure.
kids?
So if
I'm not prescribing
you get
anything
into
here,
this
but
book, there's a second book that goes with it. It's called Reconnected Kids. It is from a program you can pay and go to their very expensive program. I did that. I don't know that I'd recommend it because everything's in the books and it worked so well. You can do these programs at home. It covers the diet plan. It covers the brain exercises. It explains your specific kid's neurodiversity, how to understand how the brain is functioning and why you're seeing these things from your kids. It was so helpful. Things from sound to smell. It describes how these affect our kids. So what foods? My oldest daughter, for many years of her life, we thought she was a very sickly child. She seemed to catch every virus we thought that came through the door. Most Christmases and Easters, she would be up all through the night throwing up and not even want to see Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny in the morning. And finally, when I started reading these books and I put her on this diet, I quickly learned this is not a kid that catches viruses. She was allergic to so many different foods and her body couldn't handle them. So we removed 8 different foods from her life. And this was when she was the end of a public school year. And that end of the school year, her teacher said to her, "What did you put her on? What medicine is this?" She's focusing. She's hearing me. She's watching what I say and do. Like, it changed her so much. That diet is outlined in that book. That kid is no longer sick. She has the best immune system out of everyone in our family.
that's awesome. And what is this book called again?
Disconnected Kids is what it's called. There's a second one called Reconnected Kids. And it outlines a lot of these things that I have learned, and talks specifically about different groups of these children that are neurodiverse. Another suggestion I'd give to mamas, after searching for many years to find a counselor to help me when I was trying to make sense of how to help my children, 9 years of searching for someone to just teach me and train me what to do, I found the best resource by going to a school specifically for autistic kids. Now, keep in mind, not all of them are on the spectrum. But the best thing that came from it was that I found the counselors that were trained specifically for children with mental disabilities or neurodiverse isms, that I was able to find someone that was specifically trained in it, and it made a huge difference. I would say some of the counselors I had used prior maybe were even damaging to my understanding of what I should be doing to help my kids. They just weren't trained. And I've had to learn people that just don't understand. they don't understand, and they don't know, simply because they don't understand. They can't understand my situation and help me if they don't have a clear training in this. So go to your autistic school in your state, ask for a counselor if you're needing more help. It made a huge difference. My son that's on the spectrum, he had anger and violence. He would attack me every day when he felt overwhelmed and frustrated. That was what he would turn to, was attacking me. And as he grew, he got bigger and heavier, and I have holes all over in his bedroom walls and his doors. And he was just so angry when he couldn't get things right. And because I'm a safe place, that's who he took it out on. But when we found this counselor that was trained for children with neurodiversities, it was black and white. My son that month, he stopped. The violence, the anger, all calmed. We've not had a violent outburst since then. As parents, we understand him so much better, and it has helped me as mom to be able to teach in a way that I can understand and recognize when he's reaching overwhelmed or defense or the alarms are going off, how to stop and what to turn to. That was incredibly helpful.
How valuable is that? Wow. Wow.
I don't know. Is there anything else? Maybe teaching. Should I just talk a little bit about teaching?
Yes.
All right. So I've taught online for 4 years, and I think that was probably the biggest blessing for me as a special needs mama. I took many classes on how to be a teacher, and it was so empowering to me to understand my kids better and to have a better knowledge of how to teach them. So one thing that I did at my job was I taught for VIP Kid online, and there was a lot of training required for that, and it was incredibly helpful. You can also do online courses, just 1 or 2 at a time through special ed programs. You don't have to get a degree in it to take a course. Just sign up for a course. It will relieve you of some pressure. It will give you new tricks. It'll give you, mom's going to look suddenly cool because you've got all these new ideas. It will help you to be able to find good resources and a way to be able to maybe even connect with others that have children that are similar to yours.
And where do you sign up for these classes?
I just did an online university. The school that I went through, I did University of Utah and also BYU online courses, but you don't have to get a degree to take a college course. You can sign up for classes and do some teaching classes. They're wonderful. I had a son that hated reading, and now I come from my mother, and both of my grandmothers were librarians. I grew up reading books, and my son hates to read. He hated it when he was younger. So I did some courses on adolescent literature and how to teach reading to children through these online college classes. And it really helps me to find some new ways to bring fun to reading and to make things exciting for my son. I also learned ways for me reading with him or getting an audiobook online. Many people don't know that you have access to any college library that's around you. So you can go sign up through a college, and they have an amazing online resource of books, and you can get so many free audiobooks there. And having a child that has a hard time focusing sit down with a book in their hand and audio on, and mom sitting there listening with them. Or so it's like for us, our routine was every night together. It was an expected and it looked forward to time of the day. It was a relaxed time of the day, and it was an enjoyable time together. It just is a great way to get new ideas. Maybe even going to a college library, talking to a librarian about if they offer free classes, which my mother often would teach in the college, the university library, for teaching reading techniques, and they're free. That was a great resource too. So look for classes for mom. Help yourself to help your kids. I get burned out trying to be creative of thinking how to help my kids all the time. So use others that have become experts in this.
Yeah, because there's help out there, it sounds like. And if you're looking for it, it sounds like, these are such great ideas too of ways that you can find more help.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have dealt with what you're doing. Moms, you're not alone. And just look for other moms that have children in these same situations as you, and talk. We're not alone.
Yeah, and then you can find out what other people are using to see if that will, that's going to help you and your child. And
right.
There are resources out there, and so many resources now for homeschoolers. There's so many groups, Facebook groups online, for mothers and for parents that have children that are neurodiverse.
Yeah,
I've seen quite a few, but have you found that that's true?
Yes, I live in a smaller city, so I know of in the city that's larger near me that they have groups for just kids that are special need kids. I wish I was closer. I'd love to be more involved in that, but that didn't work for me. So I just found other moms near me with um, similar beliefs, and we just started our own group for the children that best learned in a social situation. And
Mm-hmm.
I have learned so much from those other moms. I get such a sense of relief. I'm not carrying the burden of teaching all my kids who are so uniquely different every day on my own, and having to come up with my own, you know, circus acts to entertain them in different ways. The moms in my group, we broke up the responsibilities, and we're able to help just take turns in different days. And it is such a sense of relief. But we came to those conclusions together first at the beginning of the year of exactly what we wanted covered, and to help each other understand our own children and others' children better. But that was huge. That made a big difference in being able to teach more than one child for me.
It just sounds like you've really done the research, and you've really come to, you know, understand your children and understand, what their needs, and that things have come to you that just been amazing for your family.
I've just learned from other people. And, I hope these moms that are watching, I hope you take your turn. Please talk on this so that I can learn from you too, because it really is. These kids are all so unique, and we have to learn from each other.
Yes. Let me know if you would like to speak too. I so appreciate having Nichole on and telling about the things that she has learned about in these last um, 9 years. I can tell it's really been a journey, and that's just kind of what it is, isn't it? It's a journey and finding out what works, and being able to help our kids in the best ways. Um, and so, anything that you'd like to say um, to moms and to parents that are in the trenches now and they just don't know what to do, maybe not even sure if they should continue on, if they're just maybe hurting their child by having them home. What would you say to them, Nichole?
To special need moms, especially, I think we probably are harder on ourselves than most homeschool moms. It's, a tug of war, trying to decide, am I helping my child enough? Would they get more help at school? When you have someone that has special learning needs, um, it's something that I think weighs heavy on every homeschool mom's heart. uh, I think you have to just look for peace. Peace number one is what just led me to feel that my child being home was the best thing. And she's now 18 this year. She graduates from mom homeschool. And I had to come
Oh,
to terms with she's not getting a high school diploma. That was really hard for me to decide many years ago to let go of that. But I came to a sense of great peace knowing that my child was getting the information that I knew as mom she would need to be able to have to live independently on her own in the future. And for these kids, understanding things that maybe um, they don't make sense to some of them, they wouldn't really use them, it's a waste of time. And time is precious, especially with these kids. There's so much training that we as moms can give them. I focused a lot on trying to prepare my daughter for a career. So we used a lot of mentors in my community. It'd make me cry to go through all of them. I'm not going to tell you about all of them, but so many wonderful grandma and grandpas in my neighborhood that just loved her when she didn't have friends and needed some love. And they taught her amazing skills. And, the last session I took her to this specific counselor that I love for my neurodiverse kids, he just said to her, I'm so amazed at all these skills you have learned. Look at how far you have come just by being an incredible helper and serving people around you. And, it was it brought peace to her. She does not worry about her future. She does not worry about knowing how to take care of herself. It's something that we feel she's able to do that on her own.
Well, how valuable is that? How many kids even graduate from high school just feeling peace about their future? I think a lot of kids just don't feel at peace, and they don't know what they're going to do, and they don't know for years what they're going to do, or maybe even you know, for a really long time. And so just to be able to have that peace that everything is okay. um
I
and
I
she's got skills.
Yes, these are bright kids. They can do things and do things they want to at home. Something else that brought me a lot of peace in letting go of the expectations of teachers at school and being able to just take our own path was finding other parents that did this. There's a school I live in Utah, in Provo, Utah, that is, it's like a college for kids that are on the autistic spectrum, that are average to higher functioning IQs. And they are able to go to college. If for my oldest child, college is not something that would be a possibility for her academically. It would take a lot of tutors and parents taking classes with her. My other child on the spectrum, he will do great in college if that's something he chooses. But for this child, this school in Provo is like taking that step into college, and it's not accredited through the state, but there are teachers that are special ed teachers that teach the same topics that they would find at a college setting. They have specific courses that are for these kids on the spectrum that would need more social classes. Some of them, like classes that teach defense, self-defense, how to live safely on their own. They teach public transportation and how to commute around a city. So it's more focused on these kids, and it's wonderful. I was so relieved to find that, and that helped me to let go of the diploma too. We don't need a high school diploma for her to go there, and that's perfect for her future. And being able to find other kids that are like her, so she doesn't feel alone in this world of being unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. And just kind of like right there in your community that that is so wonderful. Might make people kind of want to move there so that they can have their child go to that college.
I will have to find a link and send it to you soon. Maybe you can put that in the comments. I don't have that prepared here, but
yes, when we post this, maybe you could go in and put that link and any others that would be helpful, that you've mentioned, or others that you can think of that would be helpful in our Homeschool Moms action group. So yeah, I am just so grateful that you've joined us, Nichole. I think this is amazing, and just being able to see a mom who's done this, and that it can be done, and that there are resources, I think is so valuable. So I just really, really appreciate you being here, Nichole, and taking the time to talk to other parents and letting them know, some of the things that are out there, some of the things that you've found that have been so helpful for your children who are neurodiverse. So
yeah, well, thank you for taking me and on your show, or your on your
you call it
your group. Yeah, I don't know what to spell this. I'm really grateful for moms like you that take time and voluntarily help us to connect with other people. So thank you so much for taking time to do this.
Yes, thank you so much, Nichole, for being here, and we really, really appreciate you.